Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm back with Gretchen and Allan at AMSkier. We are continuing our series today on sexual harassment in the workplace. And guys, we talked about it in video one. If something happens, you got to say something. Now, what do you do? Allan, Gretchen, address, please. What do you do if you're a manager in a facility and someone comes to you and says, I got harassed? Where do you go?
So the important point as an employer is to make sure that your employees, as part of your policy, obviously know where to go if they have a complaint. And it's important that it not be a single person, so that the employee has options. An employee might not be comfortable, for example, talking to her manager because of the relationship they have. Maybe she'd prefer to talk to a woman, maybe to a man, I don't know. But there has to be options as long as it's supervisory personnel. If presented as a manager with the type of sexual harassment that we're really focusing in on, the hostile work environment as opposed to the quid pro quo, the answer is that the employer should say, thank you, I am glad you told me. You have done nothing wrong. That needs to be reinforced. And we will do what we can to help you to be cooperative to protect you. After that, once the information is received, assuming it's the kind of information that is not an automatic per se, you're fired, I can't believe you did that, but more in the nature of the recipient feels that he or she is being harassed, somebody is making jokes that are inappropriate or making comments about their appearance. The employer should certainly speak to that other person, get his or her side of the story, but from there make very clear this has to stop. You cannot do this here. If you do this again, you will be gone. That has to be very clear cut, and I would have some sort of documentation of that meeting took place.
It's good info. I heard you say you got to have options. The supervisors need to know this. It needs to be acknowledged, right? There's no sweeping this under the carpet anymore. So this is a very
no answer. Well, stay away from him. Don't talk to him. Oh, come on. It's just a joke. What's wrong with you? What are you, a prude? All those kinds of things. It is, if the person feels that they're being harassed, that's sexual harassment.
Guys, what do we do? And our members don't know, but we're filming this in December, so it's party time, right? There's a lot of places. It seems to me that always, you put booze and coworkers together, and it seems to open up things that shouldn't happen. But can you give me 2 or 3 things? What can facilities do to maintain a civil party and try and avoid running into these issues?
From that perspective, what I would do is I would, and I hate to treat adults this way, but that said, I think the notion is when you mix alcohol and parties or whatever, people, their guard is down, their judgment is off. And hopefully people will behave responsibly, but that's not always the case. If you're a situation where, you know your employees, you know your staff, you know your culture there, where that's a concern, what I would suggest, and again, it sounds somewhat silly because we're dealing with adults here, is I utilize something, and we recommend something, I call it a buddy system, okay? You're going into an area that has potential risk, and that potential risk is you're at an office party of people you work the rest of the year, there's a couple of drinks, more than a couple of drinks, and we all have heard the stories of stupid things that can happen. I would make sure that if I'm at a party and I intend to drink alcohol and I'm in that scenario, I'm going to have somebody, someone I trust, a coworker, a colleague, keep an eye on me. Just as I would if I were going swimming and I was swimming in dangerous waters. If I were going in a dangerous part of town, I'd want to have a bodyguard with me. And it's the same thing. I don't call it a designated driver. I'll call it a DPYA. Okay, designated protect your asser, whatever you want to call it, to say, tap you on the shoulder and say, whoa, you're having too much. Don't go off with that guy. Stay away from that lady. You're a married man, whatever the case may be. And again, it's not a frat party, I understand, but we know what can potentially happen.
No, and I like what you're saying because the buddy system works well if you're a diver, you've ever been in a pool, or you go hiking, or anything else that you're doing, the buddy system is always...
that carries with it an elevated level of risk.
Right, and this has nothing to do with saying, manage your intake. I mean, people, come on, we are adults. You have to manage yourself along the way as Well, always easier said
we
than
would hope that, obviously, and if there's somebody who you repeatedly have to say that to, you might want to have another conversation with that person beyond just the Christmas party.
Gretchen, we know that our members from across the country have come to you guys for insurance. And we're not just sexual harassment. They've come for business insurance and everything else. But does AMSkier as an agency, you guys have the ability to help them build a manual or put a policy in place? Or tell me kind of what the agency does that would help facilities get smart about this particular issue.
Absolutely. We can help our insured set up employee manuals, policies, procedures. We can obviously obtain the necessary insurance that will protect you against employment-related claims, harassment claims. It's really just a matter of, going through the procedures, paying attention to the different trainings that are out there, and making sure that you have personnel in place to address those situations.
One of the things that we can do, I'm available to our clients. So if a client has a situation where I have a question, I'm not sure what to do here, or can you take a look at my policy, or I'm dealing with a sexual harassment complaint here, can you help me? Can you walk me through what it is that I need to do so that I can be legally compliant in my response? And not just that I received a formal complaint from the government, but I have an employee in my office. She says that a customer is hitting on her. He won't stop. He keeps coming back. He keeps asking her out. He touches her inappropriately. What is it that I need to do?
Right. I love this because, and I'll tell you what I love about AMSkier. Okay, I have to make a slavish pitch here too. You guys are so much more than the way I remember an insurance agency growing up. And I love the fact that when I've talked to some of our clients who have become your clients as well, where they go, they know everything. They help with everything. And that's a wonderful part of AMSkier, but you guys are not new. How many years? You've told me again, but I can't remember. How many years has AMSkier been in business?
We're starting our 99th year.
It is so hard to believe, people, 99 years. There is a reason to talk to these people. And I'd like to finish, and Allan and Gretchen, I'd like you each to address this, but you cannot sweep this under the cover, right? This doesn't go under the rug. This has to be dealt with, and it can't be that the manual has dusty pages that no one's read. So just quickly address for our members before we leave today. How is it that you get yourself up to speed so you're aware so that when it happens, and it will, you're ready to go? Gretchen, you first, then Allan, we'll finish with you.
Just pay attention to what's going on in your work environment. Be very visual, be a part of it, have management, teams available, have people watching out for each other, and make sure that you're following and reviewing the laws, that come into place. That's what's most important.
Right. I would add that a couple of things. Again, having a manual, an employment manual, and handing it to your employee on day one and say, read this, and here, sign off here and say you got it, I'll see you tomorrow. You might as well not have it because they're not going to read it. Okay? You need to go over with your staff members on a somewhat regular basis, not every minute, but once a year at some point, what those policies and procedures are, to reiterate the culture that you want at your facility. Can there be a second chance for somebody who tells dirty jokes or makes certain kinds of comments? There's a second chance. There's no third chances. This stuff, it's not like before where you, like, as you said, you sweep it under the rug, it goes away. As I've told people, when in doubt, the notion of sexual harassment has now risen to a higher level, almost on par with allegations of other kinds of heinous behavior that can occur out in the world. Okay, that's where we are at this point. If a complaint, it comes in and you think it's legitimate, and the notion of saying to an employee, listen, I'm sorry, I'm letting you go. You cannot work here anymore. Or to a customer, that we cannot have you anymore because of this. I always like to say I would rather defend a lawsuit or a claim from an employee who says he was discharged because an allegation of sexual harassment than face a lawsuit or a claim of somebody who said, I was sexually harassed, I told them about it, and they ignored me.
Well, this is a big subject, and we've covered in 2 videos 2 very small pieces of it, so I'm sure we're going to revisit this at some point as well. But the information is just so helpful. And Gretchen and Allan, I can't thank you guys enough for sharing your information and 99 years of AMSkier. So we know our members can reach out to you and talk about anything. And I thank you guys, and I hope everyone has just a wonderful and safe holiday season.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.